Some football transfers are just brilliant, others are expensive flops. And then there are those transfers which are expensive, a waste of time, and just plain silly. Players who the club did not need and the player could have done without. Let's dive into 10 transfers which are just silly. Jadon Sancho to Manchester United. Manchester United paid Borussia Dortmund £73 million for English winger Jadon Sancho in 2021, thinking they were getting one of Europe's brightest talents. What they got was a player who spent more time in headlines for the wrong reasons than creating chances. Sancho's United career has been plagued by inconsistency, disciplinary issues, and a very public falling out with Erik ten Hag that led to his exile from the squad. He's been loaned back to Dortmund and then Chelsea and looks unlikely to have a future at Old Trafford. United basically paid £73 million for a player who couldn't handle the pressure and decided to pick fights with his manager instead of performing on the pitch. Sancho remains at Manchester United for now, but his original transfer to the club appears to look more baffling by the week. Kepa Arrizabalaga to Chelsea. Kepa's struggles perfectly encapsulate this transfer's stupidity. Chelsea made him the world's most expensive goalkeeper at £71 million, and he's spent the last few years proving that price tags don't guarantee performance. His most famous moment in a Chelsea shirt? Refusing to come off as a substitute in the League Cup final versus Manchester City. Manager Maurizio Sarri's decision to replace Kepa with Willy Caballero fell on deaf ears, as Kepa simply refused to leave the pitch. Kepa has been dropped for cheaper alternatives, spent time on loan at Real Madrid and Bournemouth as a backup and starter, before finally departing permanently this summer for just £5 million to Arsenal. The man who was supposed to be Chelsea's #1 for a decade has become a very expensive reminder that sometimes the most expensive option is also the worst option. Nicolas Pepe to Arsenal. Arsenal's then club record signing of Ivorian winger Nicolas Pepe from Lille for £72 million in 2019 represents one of the worst pieces of business in Premier League history. Arsenal thought they were getting a dynamic winger who would transform their attack. What they actually got was a player who scored just 27 goals in 112 appearances over 4 seasons before leaving on a free transfer to Villarreal in 2023. That works out to roughly £2.7 million per goal. Pepe spent most of his Arsenal career looking lost, unable to adapt to the Premier League's intensity and consistency demands. The most painful part? Arsenal are still paying off the installments for a player who's no longer at the club. They literally gave away their record signing for nothing after 4 years of underwhelming performances. Even Lille couldn't believe they got £72 million for him. It's the perfect example of how inflated transfer fees and poor scouting can combine to create absolute disasters. Jack Grealish to Manchester City. Manchester City broke the British transfer record when they signed Jack Grealish from Aston Villa for £100 million in 2021. The expectation was that England's most expensive player would become a key figure in Pep Guardiola's team and justify that massive price tag. Instead, Grealish has become the world's most expensive squad rotation player. While he's won trophies, his individual performances have been underwhelming, with limited goal contributions, a tendency to cut in from the left and shoot, and to be benched in the biggest matches. He's often been reduced to a substitute role in crucial games, which raises serious questions about spending £100 million on someone who can't even guarantee a starting spot. Grealish was dropped from the England squad as a result of poor form and is now surplus to requirements. His time at City has not been a total waste of time, as he has become a strange cult hero with his antics off the pitch. Villa fans are probably laughing all the way to the bank. Darwin Nunez to Liverpool. Liverpool paid up to €100 million to sign Uruguayan striker Darwin Nunez from Benfica in 2022, thinking they'd found their new main striker. What they got was a player who embodies pure chaos in human form. Nunez can score spectacular goals and miss open nets in the same match. His finishing is so inconsistent that Liverpool fans don't know whether to cheer or cry when he gets a chance. The man runs around like he's had too much coffee and learned football by watching YouTube tutorials at double speed. While he's not completely useless, paying €100 million for someone whose main skill is unpredictability seems questionable. Nunez was signed at the same time as Erling Haaland's transfer to Manchester City, and the trajectory of the two players could not have gone more differently. His time at Liverpool appears to be coming to a close, as he looks set to make a move to the Middle East. Timo Werner to Chelsea. Chelsea thought they were getting a goal machine when they signed German striker Timo Werner from RB Leipzig for £47.5 million in 2020. What they actually got was a player whose finishing was so bad it became a viral meme. Werner scored just 23 goals in 89 appearances, missing so many clear-cut chances that Chelsea fans started a support group. The man could run fast and get into good positions, but asking him to actually score was apparently too much. Chelsea eventually sold him back to RB Leipzig at a significant loss, proving that sometimes players just can't handle the pressure of bigger clubs. Werner's poor form continued as he embarked on a double loan from Leipzig to Tottenham Hotspur. Still, that's no longer Chelsea's concern, who were simply eager to forget that transfer as quickly as possible. Kalvin Phillips to Manchester City. This transfer is an example of what unlimited financial resources can do. Complete a transfer that was just bizarre and silly from the beginning. Manchester City paid Leeds United £42 million for Kalvin Phillips in 2022, thinking they were getting their new defensive midfielder. Instead, they got a player who's made just 31 appearances in over 2 years and has spent more time injured or on loan than actually playing for City. Phillips has been shipped out on loan multiple times, most recently to Ipswich Town, and looks set to leave permanently. Pep Guardiola clearly doesn't rate him, and when Pep doesn't rate a midfielder, you know something's gone seriously wrong. City basically paid £42 million for a very expensive squad player who doesn't even make the squad. Luka Jovic to Real Madrid. Real Madrid have recently been concentrating on free signings like Kylian Mbappe and Trent Alexander-Arnold, but there may be a reason for that, stemming from some shocking outlays not so long ago. Real Madrid paid €60 million for Serbian striker Luka Jovic from Eintracht Frankfurt, thinking they were getting the next big thing. What they actually got was 3 goals across all competitions during his entire Real Madrid career. 3 goals for €60 million. That's €20 million per goal. After spending most of his time on the bench or on loan, Real Madrid eventually gave him away to Fiorentina on a free transfer in 2022. They literally turned €60 million into absolutely nothing. The man scored more goals in his final season at Frankfurt than in his entire Real Madrid career. Antony to Manchester United. In 2022, Manchester United paid Ajax a staggering £86 million for Brazilian winger Antony, making him the second most expensive signing in the club's history. What did they get for their money? In 96 appearances, Antony managed just 12 goals and 5 assists before being shipped out on loan to Real Betis in January 2025. The man has literally one move: cut inside and shoot with his left foot, and Premier League defenders figured that out after about 3 matches. Oh, and of course, the famous spin to nowhere. He didn't start a Premier League match last season, and United were so desperate to get rid of him that they paid part of his wages while he was on loan in Spain. That's roughly £7 million per goal contribution. Antony is back at Manchester United, with the club trying to find a deal that could suit all parties and bring closure to one of the most shambolic transfers in the club's history. Mykhailo Mudryk to Chelsea. Chelsea's signing of Ukrainian winger Mykhailo Mudryk in 2023 epitomizes everything wrong with modern football transfers. They paid Shakhtar Donetsk €100 million for him, beating Arsenal to his signature in what they thought was a massive coup. 2 years later, Mudryk has scored just 7 goals in 73 appearances and looks completely lost in the Premier League. He runs around like he's playing a different sport entirely. Arsenal fans have been sending thank you cards to Todd Bailey for saving them from this disaster. But wait, it gets worse. In December 2024, Mudryk was provisionally suspended by the FA after failing a drugs test for the prohibited substance meldonium. Then in June 2025, the FA formally charged him with violating anti-doping regulations, specifically breaching Articles 3 and 4 of the Anti-Doping Code. He now faces a potential ban of up to 4 years. So not only did Chelsea pay €100 million for a player who can't score goals, they might not even be able to play him for the next 4 years. That's roughly €25 million per year for a player who might be watching matches from his sofa. Even by Chelsea's recent standards, that's impressively terrible business. Which of these disasters shocked you the most? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this breakdown of football's silliest transfers, smash that like button and subscribe for more content.